Now that the heat is really setting in, this has probably already happened to you. The lawn that was green and thick back in May now has yellow patches, dry spots, and blades that crunch under your feet. And then the usual routine kicks in. Drag the sprinkler out every evening, water a little every day, and watch how, no matter how much water you pour on it, the problem doesn't get fixed, and your water bill goes through the roof on top of it. That's the mistake almost everybody makes, and it has nothing to do with how much water you give it. It has to do with how you give it. In Japan, lawns are cared for with a different logic, and it's no accident that one of the most drought-resistant grasses in the world comes from exactly there. The idea isn't to give more water. It's to teach the plant to go find water on its own, down deep, so it can ride out the heat waves without depending on you. And done right, that means watering just twice a week and having a greener lawn than the neighbor who waters every single day. It all starts with one single idea, the idea that holds up the rest of this video. A yellow lawn isn't a lack of water problem. Almost always, it's a short roots problem. And here's the detail almost nobody knows. When you water a little bit every day, you are training your lawn to be weak. Roots only grow toward the water, so if the water is always sitting in the top inch of soil, the roots stay up there, clinging to the surface, short and shallow. And the surface is exactly the first thing that dries out and bakes in the sun. The result is a lawn with roots just an inch or two deep that fries on the first truly hot day. But when you water deeply and then let the surface dry out before the next watering, you force the roots to go down chasing the moisture, and you build a deep root system that carries the lawn through the whole summer. This isn't gardener folklore. It's confirmed by the agricultural extension services of dozens of universities, which have been repeating the same thing for decades. The Japanese approach isn't about fighting drought with a hose. It's about raising a plant that isn't afraid of drought in the first place. You don't water more. You water in a way that makes the plant strong. And there's a simple way to know when your lawn is genuinely thirsty, without guessing. Watch for 3 signs the experts use. First, the color, which shifts from a bright green to a duller, bluish or grayish tone. Second, the blades, which start to roll or fold in on themselves to lose less water. And third, the easiest one of all, the footprint test. Walk across the lawn and turn around. If your footprints stay pressed in and the grass doesn't spring back up on its own, the plant has lost its firmness and it's asking you for water. Watering by these signs, rather than by habit, is the foundation of everything. And once you understand that, you stop being a slave to the sprinkler and you start building a lawn that practically takes care of itself. Here's how it's done, step by step. The first method is the one that changes everything and it costs absolutely nothing. Water deeply and occasionally, not lightly and daily. The rule the lawn experts keep repeating is simple. Most lawns need about 1 inch of water per week, counting rainfall, and it's far better to give it in 1 or 2 long soaks than in small daily sips. The practical difference is enormous. Watering a 1/4 inch 4 times a week only wets the top layer and grows weak roots. Watering more deeply twice a week soaks the soil down deep and sends the roots downward. That way, when the surface dries out, those deep roots still have water to reach, and the lawn stays green while the neighbor's is already yellow. The mistake almost everyone makes is setting the sprinkler to a little, very often, which is the exact opposite of what the plant needs. Switch it to a lot, rarely, and in a few weeks you'll see the difference. And here are 2 tricks that cost nothing to get it right. The first, to know how much water your sprinkler actually puts down. Scatter a few low, straight containers across the lawn. Empty cans or cups work great. Run the sprinkler and see how long they take to fill up an inch or so. Now you know exactly how many minutes you need, instead of flying blind. The second, to check whether the water's soaked in deep. Right after watering, push a long screwdriver into the lawn. If it slides in easily 6 or 8 inches, you've watered deeply. If it stops after an inch or 2, the soil is dry underneath and the water didn't get down. 2 1-minute checks that save you gallons and headaches. And if you're already finding this useful, hit subscribe, because what's coming next is where the real difference gets made. The second method is knowing when to water, and this is where a huge amount of water gets won or lost without you noticing. The right time is early in the morning, between sunrise and around 8 or 9. There are two real reasons. The first is waste. If you water at midday with the sun high, much of the water evaporates before it ever reaches the roots, so you're paying for water that goes straight into the air. The second is the plant's health. If you water in the evening or at night, the lawn stays damp for hours in the dark, and that prolonged dampness is an open invitation to fungus. Watering first thing, the water soaks in well while it's cool and the blades dry off quickly in the morning sun. That way, you make the most of every drop and prevent disease at the same time. It costs nothing. It's just a matter of moving the timer. A small change of schedule and the same water does twice the work. And if you have an automatic system, 2 more adjustments save you a lot. First, a rain sensor, a cheap add-on that shuts the watering off when it's rained so the sprinkler doesn't kick on in the middle of a downpour, something we've all seen, and that's just throwing money away. Second, don't leave the same program running all year. The lawn needs a good deal, less water in spring and fall than in the peak of summer, so dial the times down when the heat eases off. A timer that waters the same in April as in August is wasting water half the year. The third method is the one most people get wrong out of fear, and it's cutting the grass taller in summer. There's a habit of scalping the lawn nice and low so you don't have to mow as often, and in the heat, that's a mistake that costs you your yard. Here's the reason, and it's pure biology. The height of the grass and the depth of the roots go hand in hand. The taller you leave the blade, the deeper the roots the plant can support, and the more water it can reach down in the subsoil. On top of that, taller grass shades its own base, and the soil, which keeps the ground cooler, loses less moisture to evaporation and makes it harder for weeds to sprout. The experts recommend raising your mowing height in summer, and for many lawns that means leaving it above 3 inches or so. It seems like a lot, but that's exactly what gives it its resilience. The classic mistake is scalping it, thinking you'll water less, when it's the exact opposite. The shorter it is, the more it suffers and the more water it needs. And there's a golden rule that prevents stress when you mow. Never take off more than 1/3 of the blade's height at once. If the lawn has grown long, bring it down over 2 or 3 passes a few days apart, instead of one brutal cut, because taking off too much at once puts the plant into shock right when it most needs to defend itself against the heat. And one more note that goes with this. Keep the mower blade sharp, because a dull blade tears the grass instead of slicing it clean, and a torn blade loses more water and gets more stressed. Something else that helps and that almost everyone throws in the trash, the grass clippings. Instead of bagging them, leave them on the lawn as you mow. This is called mulch mowing. Those fine clippings break down quickly, return moisture and nutrients to the soil, and form a layer that cuts down evaporation. That said, it works when you mow often and take off little. If you leave big clumps of long grass, you smother the lawn, so the rule is mow little and often and leave only small clippings. By the way, all of this is part of one bigger system. If you want the complete Japanese method, with all the secrets for a home, a garden, and a life that are more organized, better cared for, and easier on your wallet, the book is linked in the description of this video and on the channel. It's there if you want it. Moving on. The fourth method goes after the problem from below the soil, and almost nobody does it. Aerate and take care of the ground. Over time, and especially where it gets walked on a lot, the soil compacts, turns hard, and when you water, the water won't penetrate. It sits on the surface or runs off. Compacted soil is one of the reasons you can be watering plenty and still have thirsty roots, because the water never reaches down. The fix is to aerate it. Punch small holes across the lawn once a year to loosen the soil and let water, air, and roots get down. You can do it with a rented aerator machine or in a small yard, even by driving a garden fork in and rocking it. At the same time, spreading a thin layer of organic matter on top, like good compost, improves the soil's structure and its ability to hold moisture, so every watering does more for you. Living, spongy soil holds water like a sponge. Hard soil lets it escape. And if you notice the water running off or pooling instead of soaking in when you water, there's a free technique that fixes it. Cycle watering. Instead of dumping all the water at once, you water for a few minutes, stop for 10 or 15 so the soil can absorb, then water again. Repeating that a couple of times, the water ends up soaking deep without being wasted to runoff. On slopes or hard clay, this is the difference between watering the lawn and just wetting it. This is the invisible work that makes everything else run better. The fifth method is feeding the lawn at the right time, and here there's a calendar mistake that a lot of people pay dearly for: loading up on fertilizer in spring. Too much nitrogen fertilizer in spring pushes the plant to throw out a mass of soft green blade all at once, and all that blade needs a huge amount of water to keep going. In other words, an overfed lawn in spring is a thirsty lawn that arrives at summer already weakened. What the specialists recommend is the opposite. Feed it moderately and lean your fertilizing toward late summer or early fall, which is when it favors root growth instead of blade growth. A lawn with good roots and no excess blade is a lawn that stands up to drought. The artificial green of too much spring fertilizer is something summer makes you pay for. And now, right before the most important method of all, the one that genuinely lets you forget about the sprinkler. If you still haven't subscribed, this is the moment, because this last point is the one that changes the whole game. This method is the one that gives the video its name, and it's the reason Japan runs through all of this, choosing the right plant from the start. There's a grass, native to Japan and that part of Asia, known in botany as Zoysia japonica, and known in its home country as kori. It's one of the so-called warm season grasses, and its numbers speak for themselves. It needs somewhere between 30 and 50% less water than traditional cool climate grasses. It naturally develops deep roots, and when a serious drought hits, it doesn't die. It goes into a resting state, turns golden, and greens back up fast the moment water returns. It can go weeks with no watering. On top of that, it grows slowly, so you mow it less, and it forms a mat so dense it chokes out weeds before they can come up. It is, basically, a grass designed by nature for the heat. Now, here's the honesty this channel owes you. Switching your grass isn't something you do on a Tuesday afternoon. It means reseeding or replanting. It has a cost. And above all, it takes patience, because it's slow to establish, sometimes a couple of seasons, during which you do have to water it regularly until it takes root. And it isn't right for every climate. It's a heat grass, so in areas with very long, cold winters it may not be the best choice, and in extreme desert it won't work miracles either. But if you live somewhere with hot summers and you're sick of fighting the water battle every year, seriously considering a grass like this down the road is the decision that actually solves the problem at the root. It's not a trick for this weekend. It's the move that means 2 summers from now you won't even remember the sprinkler. Now for the honest part, because this channel doesn't sell miracles. First, the first 4 methods will hugely improve the lawn you already have, but they won't magically turn just any grass into something indestructible. Some grass types, by their nature, use more water than others, and there's only so far you can push against that. Second, watering twice a week is the target you reach once the lawn has deep roots and healthy soil. If your lawn has spent years with short roots, don't jump straight to twice a week, because you'll kill it. You get there gradually, spacing the waterings out little by little so the roots have time to grow down. And third, almost everything depends on your climate, your soil type, and your grass type. These principles are universal, but the exact numbers, how many minutes of watering, how many days you have to tune to your own yard. It's the whole set, applied with some sense and some patience, that gives you a lawn that holds up. And now for the safety and common sense part, which counts in the yard too. If you live somewhere with water restrictions, and in summer those are more and more common, always respect them. These methods are all about using less, so they help you meet the rules, not get around them. If your lawn goes brown in the peak of heat and drought, don't panic. Often it isn't dead, it's dormant, and it's healthier to let it go into rest than to force it to stay active and stressed, burning water in desperation. As soon as temperatures drop or the rain comes, it usually revives. And if you're going to use an aerator machine or the mower, the usual. Closed shoes. Keep hands and feet well away from the blades, and always keep the guards on rented machines. No lawn is worth a finger. With fertilizer in any product, follow the label doses and store it away from children and pets. And it's worth being clear about why the whole philosophy here is to raise a strong plant rather than water non-stop, because it isn't only about the bill. A lawn with deep roots uses less water, stands up to heat better, resists pests and weeds better, and ties you down far less. You stop being glued to the sprinkler every evening. Constant green isn't the goal in itself. It's the sign that the plant is strong underneath. Deep roots, not constant watering. Prevention, not dependence. So here, specifically, is what to do this weekend, starting with everything that costs nothing. First, go into your irrigation timer and change it. Fewer days, more water each time, and always first thing in the morning. And if you have an automatic system, put a rain sensor on it. That's free or close to it, and it's the single most important change of all. Second, raise your mower's cutting height and sharpen the blade. Leave the grass taller than your instinct tells you to. Then take the step of caring for the soil. If the ground feels hard, look into aerating it and spreading a thin layer of compost. Adjust your fertilizing so you're not stuffing it in spring. And down the road, if heat is your battle every year, start looking into planting a warm season grass like the Japanese one. You start with what's free, you move up to what costs a bit of work, and you leave the big decision of switching grass for later. And if you want the rest of the Japanese home and garden methods at this same level of detail, they're all in the book in the description. So, to pull it all together, because the complete system is simple to remember. Water deeply and rarely, so the roots go down chasing the water. Water first thing in the morning, so you don't waste a drop and you avoid fungus. Cut higher, because tall blade means deep root and cool soil. Care for the soil by aerating it so water can get in. Don't stuff it with fertilizer in spring. And if you really want to win the war, choose a plant built for the heat from the ground up. You raise a strong lawn, and the lawn defends itself. And with that, you don't just save the yard for a week. You keep it green all summer, watering just twice a week, without being a slave to the sprinkler and without any nasty surprises on the water bill. And if you thought the lawn was a lot of work, wait until you see what the Japanese method does for the inside of your house in summer. How to keep it cool without running the air conditioning all day and without sending your electricity bill through the roof. In the next video, you'll see how. See you in the next one.